Hello, everyone. I've got some housekeeping items that we need to address between now and March 19th and potentially a couple days afterwards before our service unit meeting on Tuesday, March the 21st. That needs to be done as soon as possible inside of Smart Cookies. So we've got three main things that are on your plate if they have not already been done as of yet that I need to go over. And these are very time sensitive. So please, as soon as possible, address these. So let me go to the next slide here. We got three main things on your plate if they have not already been done as of yet. The first of which is if you go onto the dashboard inside of Smart Cookies, the total on hand must be zero. And I'll talk about how to get that quote unquote to zero if you have any cookies that are currently on hand. This may be, 5, 10 cookies. You may have 50 cookies that have been left over from a boost sales. But by March the 19th, you need to have that quantity total on hand. And I'll go over that here inside the presentation. After you complete getting everything to zero via total on hand, you want to make sure that you're creating your recognition order before March the 19th. And again, it's key that you do this total on hand step first before doing this, creating your recognition order. Or if it's the case where you're a junior or above, opt out that you're wanting the 18 cents per package. Again, I'm going to cover that here as well. Third one, very important, zero balance for all Girl Scouts. This means that by March the 19th, you need to have all deposits into your bank account as well as inside of Smart Cookies that you've keyed in any payments that you've received from a parent or a carekeeper relative to that respective Girl Scout. So I'm going to go over all of these as well as some timelines and availability from my standpoint to assist you. So I want to make mention of this. Especially Smart Cookies closes on March the 19th. However, if you're needing assistance getting anything that I've done inside this presentation, I can be available via Zoom between now and the evening of March the 16th. Please send me an email and we can set up a time. You can share your screen and I'll walk you through anything that I'm covering inside the presentation. Friday, March the 17th through Sunday, March the 19th. I will not be available. I will be at Comic-Con with my daughter. So those 3 days, I will not be available. And this is important because Smart Cookies is going to close on March the 19th. So if you're needing assistance, you need to get in contact with me by Thursday. I will answer emails early morning Friday. However, I'm not going to be available Friday through Sunday to assist. So sending me an email at 11 o'clock on Sunday night before Smart Cookies closes out is not going to work. So again, very timeline sensitive to getting these items done on or before Thursday. Now, you do have Friday, Saturday, and Sunday to get it done. It's just from a PSM perspective, I'm not going to be available Friday through Sunday. And then we're going to talk about something called a C1 form. This is in the event a parent / carekeeper has not settled the balance on a Girl Scout. There is a process that we need to go through of documentation provided by either the troop leader or the troop cookie manager. And you would need to meet with me the night of the service unit meeting on March the 21st, because this is something you're going to need to turn in some paperwork to me. And I will have that C1 form attached to the email that's sent out along with the link to this presentation. So we're going to cover all this, but just from a time standpoint, if you're needing assistance, Thursday night's going to be the cutoff before Smart Cookies closes on March the 19th. Okay, step one, if you go to your dashboard after you log into Smart Cookies, you're going to see here in the on the screen what I've got circled is the total on hand. When all said and done, you should have a zero number there. This means that all of the cookies have been allocated either to a Girl Scout or to your booth count. And this is important relative to your recognition. I'll talk about if this number is not there, what you need to do with it. So the goal is, for step one perspective, total on hand needs to be a 0. Well, in this particular case, when I pulled this up, there are still 8 packages that have not been allocated to either a Girl Scout or to the booth count that's out there. So what happens if your troop is not showing this as 0? Well, what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to, on the main screen, you're going to want to click orders and then go down to transfer order. So again, orders and transfer order on the main screen, that's what you're going to want to click. And then you've got 2 options here. You'll notice in the example I provided, I had 8 packages. 4 of them were Thin Mints and 4 of them were peanut butter patties. So you can, for each girl, you're going to have the option to select each girl, the amount, say it's 8 cookies or whatever. You can allocate it however you want across the board in terms of either the packages or the booth packages. But in total, it's got to get to 0 with your on-hand quantity. Now, the major difference between these 2 columns, if it's a packages, the girl / parent / carekeeper becomes financially responsible for that on-hand package. If it's a booth package, this is underneath the troop side. The allocation of the recognition will go to, if you are doing that, will go to the particular girl. However, this becomes still the troop's responsibility. And a lot of times this is done, you may allocate that if a particular girl may be at a certain level and need to get to a next level, you can allocate accordingly. But these amounts become troops' responsibility from a financial perspective on the booth package. The packages, girl becomes responsible. So however you allocate it is entirely up to you, but inside the troop. But keep in mind, if it goes to packages, it's going to show up, those packages are going to show up at $6 a piece, being due to the girl / parent / carekeeper. Booth packages becomes on the troop's responsibility. So however you allocate it, entirely up to you, but you do have to get that balance down to 0. Now, after you complete this step, you want to make sure you go back into the dashboard and you hit this handy dandy little recycle button. The reason being is Smart Cookies does not, every time you load a page, automatically quote unquote refresh. If you've done, say, what I just did on those 8 packages in that previous example, you're not going to see that reflected down to 0 unless you hit that recycle button. So don't freak out if you've done it and then all of a sudden that same amount is still there. You will need to click that recycle button and then you will see a refresh count. Now, keep in mind, it has to be 0. You can't have a negative amount because something's not tying there relative to your counts. So it can't be a positive number. It can't be a negative number. It must be 0 for everything to close out. If for some reason close to the end of the 16th or this upcoming week that I'm still seeing counts out there, I will be sending out reminders and we can start some dialogue back and forth if there are questions on or before the 16th to get that resolved. But this first step has to be done, and it's got to be done on or before the 19th, before Smart Cookies close out. And that's March 19th at 11:59 p.m. Central Daylight Time. So again, you're not going to have access to it on the 20th. If you send me something at 12:30 in the morning on Monday morning on March the 20th, it's going to be too late. So this is something you're going to want to start now. You don't want to procrastinate until the last minute on it. All right. So next item, step 2, is your recognition order. You want to make sure that you do this after you get to 0 on hand, because the counts relative to a Girl Scouts recognition order is going to be based upon however you allocated things inside of step one. For the majority of everything relative to a recognition order, it's pretty much there is nothing to select. On some of the upper levels relative to either shirt size of your Girl Scout, cookie dough, or another option of the excuse me, recognition item will be prompted, and you'll have a little triangle, red triangle, that will tell you something that you have to address inside that recognition order. So you're going to want to go into rewards and recognition order like I've got on the screenshot to start that. So in all likelihood, for most everything, there isn't any action item. But if you have somebody, again, that was a high seller, there will be things that you need to address. So between now and the 19th, if there's something relative to shirt size or an option, you need to communicate between you and the Girl Scout to make sure that that choice is made between there, or it will default to the item that does not have whatever's picked out there. So again, you want to make sure that that recognition order is done. I sent this out previously, but for any of the troops that are juniors or above, you can do the opt-out option, which is 18 cents per package that is earned by the troop. And keep in mind, again, this is an all or a none scenario. So it is, if you have one or more scouts that want the recognitions, you can't split it between it. It's an all or a none if you opt out. So the way that is done is underneath my troop and troop information. If that junior's troop or above is wanting to do an opt-out, these two items need to be selected, and then you would click the save option inside there. So again, if there's questions between now and Thursday, please don't hesitate to send me an email. I can walk you through, or we can set up a Zoom session. I can walk you through how to get that all keyed in. But again, key is if you're needing assistance by Thursday, because I will not be available Friday through Sunday of this particular week. All right. Third item, this is very important. We need to make sure we get this done. All Girl Scouts must be at a zero balance by March the 19th. This means that all deposits need to be made by March the 19th. So you should have been receiving payments. If you haven't keyed it in, not the end of the world, but this needs to get done this week. So let's say you received $200, and I know that isn't a possible number with a division by 6, but let's just say for the argument you had $200 and $100 was in checks and $100 was in cash. What you would end up doing for that particular scout, as you've been receiving the funds, and again, this is cash or check only. Credit card payments would have already been inside the system on this report that I'm going to show you how to run here in a few minutes inside this presentation. So what you're going to want to do is you're going to click Finances and Financial Transactions, and from the main menu inside of Smart Cookies. Once you've done that, you're going to get a screen that looks something similar to this. Now, by default, it's going to show you the troop transactions first. If you had an ACH pull back around February the 20th, this particular item is going to be listed for this troop. $36 was deducted out of their respective accounts. So the first tab, what you're going to want to do on your end to input either those cash or check payments is going to be the next thing on this particular screen. You're going to want to click Girl Transactions, which is what I'm hovering in that red circle there. And then down here, Add Girl Transaction. So by default, it's going to be on Troop. You need to select this one on the top for Girl Transactions, and then click Add Girl Transaction. What that's going to look like here is what's on the next screen. This drop down is going to be the list of all Girl Scouts in your troop. So for each girl, you're going to select a type. The type is going to be payment by default. That's the only option underneath this guy would be payment. Payment method is either going to be cash or check. It's not explicit that you have to, if you want to do it all as $200 as check or $200 all as cash, that's perfectly fine. From an accounting standpoint, so that I keep things straight, I like to know what somebody submitted cash versus check, but that's entirely up to you. As long as that $200 shows up in the amount and whatever date you pick here, then you're going to click save. It's going to save that in the system that respective Girl Scout paid $200 on their particular balance that's owed. So this has to be done for each Girl Scout based upon how much you've received across the board. So for each of those scouts. So again, this has to be done before 11:59 p.m. Central Daylight Time on Sunday, March the 19th. The Smart Cookies closes down that night. So it's not 12:01 a.m. on Monday morning on March the 20th. So don't wait till the last minute. If you've got questions, again, I cannot stress enough, we can meet on or before Thursday via Zoom, and I'll help you through any of the process on this. So again, once the 20th rolls around, you're not going to have access, and then that leads to another set of issues after the fact that we're going to talk about. So again, if you can get this done as soon as possible, it'd be greatly appreciated. So once you've done that, the next thing you're going to want to do for all your scouts that you went and you keyed in either the cash or checks that have been received, you're going to want to run a report inside of Smart Cookies. So what you're going to want to do is run and that should not say troop balance, that should say girl balance summary. Let me fix that here real quick. Just a second. I'm going to say that needs to say girl. There we go. It's fixed. Girl balance summary. So you're going to go to reports and current. So that's the first thing you're going to select. And then this next screen is going to come up. What's going to end up happening on the left-hand report categories, you're going to want to select finance. And then over here on the right, you're going to want to select girl balance summary. So finance girl balance summary, come down here to this button, click on go to report. Once you do that, this next screen is going to show up. So it's going to say, by default, service unit 647. Your troop as TCM or leader is going to automatically populate there. I'm utilizing troop that I'm in as TCM as 544, but this will default to whatever troop that's there. Leave everything as is. It's going to create a PDF file on your PC or device that you're working from, and then click view report. So there isn't anything you got to change here. You just want to simply click view report. Once you do that, it's open up that PDF file, and for each girl, what you're wanting to see, this is the green check mark, endorphin, everything good, is that for each girl at the very end, you need to show that the balance is 0. If for all your girls are 0, you've done everything, odds are you're not going to hear from me. If it's the case where somebody is still showing a non-zero balance, that's where things we're going to have to address relative to a non-zero balance after March the 20th. Okay, so if you have a parent or a carekeeper that you still, that parent or the carekeeper owes for 36 packages, $216, for example, and they haven't paid by that Sunday, March the 19th, what ends up happening is, from your perspective, you're going to need to fill out one of these C1 forms, okay? The C1 form removes liability from the troop and puts it on the parent or the carekeeper. So what will happen is, and I will attach this inside the email so that you have one to print out, bring 2 copies with you of this, and so that you'll have one as well as I'll have one, or the night of the 21st, I'll scan it and mail it back to you signed with everything. But here's the deal, what you're going to need to do. The night of March the 21st is our service unit meeting. Starting after 6:30 that night, you're going to need to bring me 3 sets of important things. Item 1, the C1 form filled out. And again, it's pretty explicit, the girl's name. And again, I'm the SUPPM, so you would put in my name, or you can leave the top part blank. But the girl's name, all the bio information, street, parent, guardian name, etc. Date contacted, all this information needs to be filled out up to this point. So I will take that C1 form from either the service unit meeting, or if you can't be there that Tuesday night, we need to meet sometime Monday, or we need to meet sometime Tuesday before the meeting. Because everything is going to council the morning of Wednesday, March the 22nd. So you'll need to have the C1 form filled out. You need to provide me a copy of the signed permission slip. The signed permission slip, and we talked about this back in November, removes liability of the troop that the parent or the carekeeper is financially responsible for those cookies. So you need to provide me a copy of the signed permission slip, and then provide me all receipts relative to the missing outstanding balance. So let's say in my previous example, I had 3 cases of cookies. I owe the troop $216, and lo and behold, they haven't paid you for it. So at some point, you would have had either in your receipt book, or you printed out of Smart Cookies, and you had that parent or carekeeper sign for those 3 cases. You need to provide me that documentation. All 3 of these are required. In other words, if you don't have a signed permission slip from the parent or the carekeeper, it becomes the troop's responsibility. If you don't have a receipt showing that those 3 cases were signed for, again, becomes the troop's responsibility. Not trying to be harsh or mean, but we did address this, hopefully as clear as possible, back at the November meeting, that if you do not have the documentation and the parent or the carekeeper doesn't, that becomes financially the troop's responsibility on any packages / cases that a parent signed for. So again, more documentation you've got, the better off. But these are the minimum 3 for me to submit this C1 form to council. So just to recap, again, financial responsibility goes to the troop if you do not have the signed permission slip and whatever documentation you have to support those 3, whatever you had in terms of the outstanding balance. Okay, if you do not submit me the C1 form by Tuesday night, Wednesday, I am meeting with council to turn in C1 forms. Any issues after that is between troop and council. So again, I'm only going to meet with council sometime on or after one time after Wednesday, March the 21st, or excuse me, Wednesday, March the 22nd. So again, we need to, if you fall into this category, we need to meet on or before the service unit meeting that Tuesday night. The easiest way to meet with me will be the service unit meeting on Tuesday night, on March the 21st. That way we're face to face. If it's the case we need to meet the Monday beforehand, we'll arrange that via email, but you will need to, we would need to meet face to face to get that documentation from you, because it all goes to council on Wednesday, March the 22nd. Hopefully this is helpful. Again, outside of this coming Friday, March the 17th through 19th, I'd be more than willing to answer any questions. We'll set up Zoom sessions to get everything resolved. Again, thanks, and please let me know if you have any questions.